Over the Xbox Series X and S generation, Microsoft has released 3 notably disappointing games: Redfall, Starfield, and most recently, Call of Duty Black Ops 7. These games failed in very different ways across very different genres, but when you look at how they were made and what happened after launch, a common thread starts to appear. Their problems weren't just about bad design or lazy development, they were about timing, acquisitions, and how Microsoft's modern Xbox strategy actually plays out in practice. Now let's call a spade a spade. Xbox has dropped the ball more than the Washington Generals, and not just with these 3 games. Over the last 2 console generations, Microsoft has made plenty of questionable calls, from canceling projects and closing studios to charging people out the ass for Game Pass. But the stories behind Redfall, Starfield, and Call of Duty Black Ops 7 are more complicated than everything Microsoft touches turns to shit. Instead of listing every individual flaw, this video looks at how developmental timelines, studio buyouts, and release pressure overlap and lead to final results that weren't entirely shaped by Microsoft's day-to-day involvement. One thing all 3 games share is where they came from. None of them were built inside Xbox from the ground up. They were made by long-established teams brought in through massive acquisitions. Redfall and Starfield came from Bethesda and Arkane through its parent company ZeniMax, while the teams behind Call of Duty Black Ops 7 arrived via Microsoft's $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard King. Or was it Activision King Blizzard? Honestly, I don't know, but just once I'd like to go to a Dairy Queen and have the employees call me the Blizzard King. Jokes aside, folding massive established studios into a new corporate structure isn't instant, and that friction shows up in every game we're talking about here. Before we get into Redfall, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more deep dives into all things gaming, consider subscribing. It genuinely helps the channel. Redfall launched in May of 2023, just 2 years after Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, and it didn't take long for things to fall apart. Arkane Austin was still adjusting to a new corporate environment while trying to finish a complicated project, leaving very little room for polish or course correction. Critically, the game was rotten, with a 57 average on OpenCritic, with only 13% of reviewers recommending it. Even without vampires, Redfall would still absolutely suck. Microsoft allowed the release to move forward after delays, possibly to signal confidence in its new studio, but by May of 2024, Arkane Austin was shut down. Redfall is a textbook example of what happens when tight schedules collide with acquisition, growing pains, and even when talented developers are involved. Now, that same year, we also saw the release of Bethesda's first new IP in 25 years, Starfield. And to be fair, I think Starfield is the strongest of the 3 games discussed here, though that's not exactly a compliment. It's like giving the best piece of shit award to the turd that came from the cutest dog at the dog park. The disappointment mostly came down to expectations. Bethesda spent years doing full-on hype beast shit, and the final game simply didn't live up to it. In that sense, Starfield is a classic case of Bethesda overpromising and underdelivering. I share that same flaw in the bedroom, but at least I don't make video games. Now, to be clear, Starfield wasn't a critical or commercial disaster like Redfall, but the fact that its reception was debated at all, coming from the studio behind Skyrim, one of the most beloved games ever, says a lot. More importantly, Starfield had been in development long before Microsoft bought Bethesda, and the studio still operates with a high degree of independence today. That freedom has its benefits, but it doesn't magically solve the challenge of launching a massive new IP. If there's one crown jewel in Microsoft's acquisitions, it's Call of Duty, a franchise that prints money even when it underperforms. A cynical person might say Call of Duty is too big to fail and can fail upwards whenever it wants. That's why the backlash to 2025's Black Ops 7 caught Activision off guard, especially after Black Ops 6 was both popular and well received. The first Call of Duty fully released under Microsoft's ownership. Activision even put out a statement that was almost halfway to an apology, and if that doesn't mean the devil needs a winter jacket because hell is about to freeze over, I don't know what does. Unlike Redfall or Starfield, Call of Duty runs on a relentless annual cycle. Development rotates between Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward, creating a balancing act that even annual sports franchises usually avoid. After the excellent 2019 Modern Warfare, the series struggled to redefine itself, trying to stay fresh while still shipping yearly releases and giving teams enough time to actually make the games. That tension showed up in Call of Duty Vanguard, a World War II game that nobody asked for, the hilariously underdeveloped Modern Warfare 3, and the outrageously overcooked, burnt to a crisp Black Ops 7. The issues here were baked in long before Microsoft ever entered the picture. What makes Black Ops 7 especially sad is how well Black Ops 6 performed the year before. The formula was there, I was personally on board, and yet the follow-up still collapsed. The campaign was widely criticized for feeling like the kind of disastrous drug trip that makes you commit to sobriety and maybe even accept Jesus back into your life. And the game failed to meaningfully build on what Black Ops 6 did right, leaving it feeling rushed and disposable. Add franchise fatigue and tougher competition from Arc Raiders and Battlefield 6, and Black Ops 7 quickly earned a reputation as one of the weakest entries in the series. Now, I'd personally still play it over Modern Warfare 3, but I never claimed this video was about my exquisite taste in video games. Taken together, Redfall, Starfield, and Black Ops 7 tell a consistent story. They weren't just unlucky releases or isolated screw-ups. They were shaped by acquisition timelines, development momentum already in motion, and mounting pressure to deliver results quickly. The people in suits who know more about owning mini yachts you can dock into regular yachts eventually yelled, "Release the games," in their best completely unironic Mr. Burns impression, and well, here we are. Some projects collapsed entirely, others landed safely but failed to meet expectations. Even dependable juggernauts like Call of Duty proved vulnerable. Microsoft's buying spree created enormous potential, but it also introduced real risk, and not every game survived the transition. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into gaming's hits, misses, and everything in between. I've been Nitwit, and I couldn't have done this video without you. Thanks for watching.